as I said before, today we are going to be speaking at what makes a good project. Because every now and then you have been hearing, like, if you want to invest in cryptocurrencies, make sure that you analyze the project. Make sure that you analyze the project. Analyze the project. We always say that. Now, let's actually look at what makes a project good, okay? What makes a cryptocurrency project good? So when we are doing the analysis of a good project, the first and the most important thing we have to look at its organic demand. The organic demand of that specific project. Like, why is this project needed? Why is the project needed? And this question of why is the project needed is only answered by when you look at the following things. The first thing is, what is the problem? That the project has seen. So the first question is, what is the project, or what is the problem that the project has seen? When we are looking at establishing, when we are looking at these different projects that are built on blockchain, we have to first ask ourselves, what is the problem that this project has seen? I'll give you a very small example. When we look at projects like Bitcoin, what did Bitcoin see? Bitcoin saw the problem of centralization, censorship. They saw another issue of accessibility, and so many more. They saw a problem. That was the first thing, that this project was born because they saw there's this problem. Bitcoin, when you read the white paper, you see that they complain a lot about the centralization of the financial system, the censorship of the financial system, the accessibility of the financial system. Another example, Ethereum. What did they see? In simple terms, Ethereum said that we do not see logic in the blockchain. That's the problem that Ethereum saw. They sat down and realized that there is something that is currently missing in the current technology that we have. There is so much untapped potential that you can get from this technology. But because there is no logic, then there is something that people cannot get when they engage with what? With the blockchain. Now, when we come and look at Inkryptus, what was the main problem that Inkryptus saw? Inkryptus saw that there is a problem of people's engagement in DeFi. To narrow it down, like they saw there's a problem when people are trying to engage in decentralized finance. There is a bit of problem. There is a bit of technicality that is needed. So that is the first thing that we always consider when we are looking at any specific blockchain project. The first thing is, like, what is the problem that the project has seen? What is the problem that the developers have seen? That is the first thing. Now, the second thing now, after we have seen the problem, we go and analyze what is the solution. What is the solution? Solution offered. we first of all read what the problem that is there. Now, the second thing is we actually now look at what is the solution that is offered by that specific project. What do they think, if done, will solve that existing problem? And one thing that you are supposed to know is that the most important thing that you should know is that there is no one solution for one problem. If it would have been like that, then we would have had very few banks, then we would have had very few car brands. Like every person sees their own solution to the same problem that everyone else is facing. So, for example, let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, after saying all that, what was their solution? Their solution was the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay? So the Bitcoin blockchain was designed after they saw, like, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they created their own blockchain. Now, in this blockchain, we expect now the issue of centralization is no longer there. So the Bitcoin blockchain was decentralized. The issue of censorship is no longer there. So the Bitcoin blockchain, there is no censorship. The issue of accessibility, anyone on earth can use the Bitcoin blockchain once they have the tools to approach it, maybe wallets or the technicalities to get there. But the problem was met by their own solution. We go down to Ethereum. What did they do? Ethereum also came with a project. They came with a blockchain, but the difference is that their blockchain was supporting smart contracts. The Ethereum blockchain was another blockchain, just like how Bitcoin was, but it supported smart contracts. So they said there is no logic to the blockchain. What is our solution? Ethereum proposed smart contracts. And as I said earlier, Ethereum, not one problem has one specific solution, right? When Ethereum introduced their blockchain, other blockchains that were operating the same as Ethereum's, they are called EVMs. If they use Ethereum virtual machine, they operate the same as Ethereum, but they saw something in Ethereum and they tweaked it a little bit. Maybe they made transactions cheaper. Maybe they made transactions faster. Maybe they could bundle more transactions in one block and stuff like that. So you find out that you have a problem, then they propose a solution. When we look now at Ink, what did they create? They created the Inkryptus ecosystem. The Inkryptus ecosystem where anyone without even much technicality could engage with this ecosystem and actually enjoy the benefits that are found within the decentralized finance ecosystem. So you find out that one of the things that make a good project is, why is that project needed? And there are only two things now that will create the need of that good project. And that is, what is the problem that they are trying to solve? And what is their solution? So it means that, what this generally means that is that if I have this problem and I want a solution, I have to go to this project. So if you create that environment, then obviously people with that specific problem are going to come to your project so that they can get the solution. We are doing analysis of these projects because we want to make sure that we find good projects that are going to give us an opportunity to invest in and have a longer time for us to actually see the good results from our investments. Because people always underestimate how important it is to actually go out there and find a very good project, and then from there on, invest in it. Because at the end of the day, no matter how good the project is, we have to invest in that, in its crypto. Just like how we find good companies and buy their shares. In the crypto world, when we find a good project, we buy its specific crypto. It can be a token, it can be a coin, but that's what we do. That is why a good project will give you a better opportunity to actually see the results that people want to see. So, since today we're just looking at a good project, right? Let's now look at how these projects, the two case studies that we have been doing together, how were they shaped, okay? So when you go down the history, for example, let's look at Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin is the biggest crypto, okay? And it is the one that pioneered cryptocurrencies. It is the go-to crypto when it comes to crypto investors. And there is this problem that I would like to clarify, like someone wants to get into investing in crypto and they go to buy Bitcoin. And you ask them, why are you buying Bitcoin? Oh, because Bitcoin is never going to disappear. Bitcoin has no owners, has no founders, all that stuff. And you're very disappointed because you know that what they're saying is from a point of very small understanding. They had words here and there, and they're using them to make their decisions. And those people did not actually know where these cryptocurrencies come from. For example, let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, funny enough, was when it was people started using Bitcoin, the major push of Bitcoin came with this site called, oh my God, what's it called again? Oh my God, Silk Road, yes, Silk Road. Silk Road. Silk Road was a platform where people sold illegal stuff. For those who don't know, people see Bitcoin here today. And what made Bitcoin so popular with Silk Road is that you could send someone Bitcoin instead of sending them cash. And people are like, oh, so I can just send Bitcoin. And the good thing about these cryptocurrencies, they offer some sort of a layer of being anonymous, like who sent this transaction, who received it, and all that stuff. So during the growth of Silk Road, so many people started using Bitcoin. Like, I'm sending you Bitcoin, you send me my stash. And that's when Bitcoin actually became famous. Like, I'll send you Bitcoin. No one knows it's from charity. No one knows it's from charity, maybe going to Yvonne. No one knows. But it was very easy for people to actually send value. That's what made Bitcoin famous. That's what actually made Bitcoin famous. Bitcoin was not made famous by investors, by institutions, by speculators. No, it was made by people who were actually using it to solve their problems. Because I want to be anonymous in doing my transactions. Where do I get that solution? Let me buy Bitcoin, send it to my supplier, and my supplier can just deliver my goods at my doorstep. That is what I mean when I say that a good project needs to find a specific problem to solve. I know and I understand that the developers of Bitcoin, they did not want their projects to be used for illegal stuff. No. But they intended it to be used by normal people. But at the end of the day, who found real useful purpose? Who found real useful purpose? It was someone who needed that solution. This is what we mean. This is what we mean. Now, let's look at, for example, Ethereum. Another case study, Ethereum. Ethereum, when it introduced smart contracts, it opened a whole world of that. Sorry, just a moment. Nakupigia. Sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. So as I was saying, Ethereum, when it introduced smart contracts, back then, the only thing that you could do with cryptocurrencies was actually buy, sell, send. That's it. And you could also store, of course, since they are within your wallet. But Ethereum introduced smart contracts, which means it introduced logic. So people could actually combine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 smart contracts and create applications. And these applications were called decentralized applications, DApps. Decentralized application. So people now started compiling different smart contracts and they started creating different applications. Okay? This meant that people were using the Ethereum blockchain to develop different applications. People were using the Ethereum blockchain to do different transactions. So it meant that you have a community where people are buying Ethereum so that they can interact with the services that are within that specific ecosystems. Maybe someone has, for example, the first major application that was built on the blockchain. You can Google it. The Ethereum blockchain is called the DAO. Make sure that after this Zoom call, you go and search and do research about the DAO. The DAO was the first actual implementation of this smart contract, which was at a very large scale, which allowed members to pool their Ethereum, and the Ethereum was invested in different ventures, and they could share the profits. And the thing about smart contracts, it's designed in such a way that everything is autonomous. Like we already designed, this is how we want our organization to work, and it works without human intervention, meaning that the investments were done autonomously. So that made Ethereum really grow as an ecosystem. Not the coin, the actual coin, but the project itself. It grew because of that. It grew because there were people who were getting their problems solved by that specific project. Now, when we look now at the case study, the project that we have always been speaking, Inky, what was Inkryptus trying to solve? As I said earlier, Inkryptus is trying to make decentralized finance accessible to everyone. Anyone who wants to engage with decentralized finance, or mostly commonly known as DeFi, engaging with decentralized finance is a bit of a pickle. It's very challenging. It needs technicality. Inkryptus solves that by creating a layer which actually helps anyone to interact with those services. And that was their main goal. So what do you find? You find that people who want to engage with decentralized finance come in and use the Inkryptus wallet. They maybe want to do yield farming, they want to do staking, they want to do swaps, they want to do their own investments. They are using what? The Inkryptus wallet, meaning that people who wanted to get into DeFi but faced a hurdle are going to be using the Inkryptus wallet to engage in decentralized finance. And that's what has been going on for the last 6 years and counting now. Now, you might be wondering, like, why is it very, very important for me to do the analysis and get a good cryptocurrency project? I know that's the question for most of us who are in this call. And the answer is very, very straightforward. It's very, very simple, okay? Yes, we invest in the project. Yes, we find good projects to invest in. But the reality is the monetary value or the monetary returns of the project are reflected in the coin. At the end of the day, what we do invest in is we buy the coin, right? Ladies and gentlemen. As I'm finalizing right now, is that yes, we have to analyze the project. We have to make sure we get a good project. But at the end of the day, the monetary return or the monetary appreciation of any specific project is reflected on the coin. So we have to look into one final piece now as investors is this question. I'm going to write it in caps. How is the coin used in the project? That is the most important question that you should have after you have analyzed why this project is good. And I'm going to give you an example with that. How is that coin used in that specific project? I want you to be very, very attentive because this is what is going to make a good investment different from a bad investment. How is the coin used? So, no matter how good a project is, people are going to come in, get their problems solved, and go on with their life. But if there is no actual use case of that specific coin in that project, then it's pointless. It's pointless at some extent, you can say. Why? Because no matter how many people get their problems solved, you are not going to directly get the return response based on how the coin performs. No matter how good the project becomes, if that coin is not used in the project, then you as an investor, you're going to be in a very, very bad position. I'll give you an example to explain this. There are two projects here. We have the Ethereum project, which I've spoke about. And as Ethereum grew, it faced the problem. Like there are so many transactions coming in, the fees were very high. And they needed a solution. They needed a scaling solution. They tried and introduced proof of stake. They tried and introduced a lot of things. But that was still not a solution because Ethereum was so good at solving the problem that they saw. So what happened is there was an introduction of something called L2s, layer 2 blockchain. or rollups. It's just some technical stuff, but it means that you have the main blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain running, and you will have another blockchain on top of it running parallel. So people can transact in this top blockchain and everything gets settled in the Ethereum blockchain. It's very technical, but what you have to understand is that there's going to be another blockchain running on top of the Ethereum blockchain, helping in carrying out transactions. Now, one example of this blockchain is the Arbitrum blockchain, ARB, the Arbitrum blockchain. It's an L2 of the Ethereum blockchain, and you can use its services. It's cheaper, it's faster. But the problem with Arbitrum is that the main coin, the Arbitrum coin, is not used in that specific blockchain. So when you want to do anything within the Arbitrum blockchain, you have to use Ethereum to pay for the gas. You have to use Ethereum for settlements, paying for transaction, paying for deploying smart contracts, all that stuff. Meaning that within this specific ecosystem, no matter how many people are using that specific blockchain, the coin itself has no benefit in that. And what does that translate to? Arbitrum has a lot of transaction, but the price of the coin, go and look at it. The market capitalization, it's only speculative. You actually don't need Arbitrum in that Arbitrum blockchain, except if you just want to do what? You want to do voting. That's why you as an investor, since you're buying the coin, then obviously you have to know that how the coin is used in that specific blockchain becomes very, very, very important. If that was, we are just going to finalize today's call. And basically today's call, we are just looking at the whole aspect of the project. What makes a project good? What makes you think that this project is going to outperform the other project? It's the analysis that you do on that specific project. And one final thing before I welcome answers. Yes, I'm going to, I've not spoken much about the Inkryptus wallet, how you can benefit from that. But that was not what I wanted to mainly speak of today. Okay, I'll do some very little highlights shortly. But today I just wanted to show you, like, how do you find a good project? And the thing is that a good project is going to give you sustenance. A good project gives sustenance. Meaning that once you buy a coin that has a good project, you know that it's not going to go up today. It's not going to go up tomorrow. But I know eventually one of two things are going to happen. Either more people are going to come and get this solution, or more people are going to come and see this solution as good and buy the coin because they believe other people are going to see that this solution is good. So you both have two things. You have the speculators and you have the investors, the people who are finding real use case of that project. So make sure that in any of your analysis, you find a coin that has a very good what? A very good project. And the good thing is that if you are with me from the beginning to now, you can now sit down and analyze a good project when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Now, if you have any question to this point, if there's any question to this point before we go to trying to look at the Inkryptus ecosystem just a little bit. Okay. If there's any question, please go to the box chat and write your question. But if everything was clear, please go to your box chat now and type 555. If you have a question, please make sure that you ask your question right now based on what we have covered so far. But if everything was clear, please go to the box chat and type 555. I'm expecting to see at least 555 because we have covered one of the most important aspects that so many people out there just overlook. And what happens at the end of the day is that they always lose money. Why? Because they fail to understand very simple things, which once you know them, then life is going to be very easy for you. Life is going to be super, super easy for you. Okay, is there any question? Any question? Any question? Okay, no question. So one final thing to close up the session is, I've been speaking about Inkryptus and all that, but at the end of the day, we have to understand what Inkryptus is as a project. It's a project that allows crypto owners to earn using their crypto. So you have crypto, but that crypto actually helps you to earn more. That's what Inkryptus has. And one of the services that is the best seller within the Inkryptus ecosystem is the staking service, which allows crypto users to buy crypto, lock them for a specific time, and earn dividend with time. So staking service, they allow you to earn what so many people called passive income with your assets, with your crypto assets. Now, one thing that you have to understand, the main point is not to buy coins that allow you to do staking, but once you have analyzed a good project and that project allows you to do staking, then that's an added benefit. Meaning that as you're waiting for a coin's price to appreciate over time, you earn something along the way. That's the whole aim of Inkryptus. So this staking service has been a very big game changer for many investors. When I look at the participants, I know we have Inkryptus users here who have been benefiting with their main token, the Ink token, which is like the share, or is the backing of that Inkryptus ecosystem. So you can buy the token, the Ink token, with the expectation that I have decided on Inkryptus being a good project, since it is, and I'm willing to wait for it to grow over time. And as it grows over time, then I am going to be earning some sort of a passive income along the way. Meaning that if you have any expenditure in the middle of that journey as you're waiting for your coin to perform, then you can be selling your dividends, the profits that you have been given or the rewards that you have been given, and not selling your principal investment. And the good thing is that we have different pools which allow different clients to even break even on their investment in just 2 years. So as an investor, it's high time for you to do some due diligence, and you can go to www.inkryptus.com and you can go to the staking section. Then there's also a very beautiful simulator when you can do all your maths. But if you have any question, it's very good that you could reach to us. We can keep on, you can ask your questions. We could give you the answers that you deserve.